Ladies and gentlemen, I got a question right away from the get-go. Is Lamine Yamal the most important player right now for Barcelona? Because today he didn't play and Barcelona lost. I think, is there any direct correlation between these two things happening? Let's analyze it in this video because, well, Barcelona got their first loss against Real Sociedad. That's a big thing. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today, of course, we're going to analyze this game between Real Sociedad and Barcelona, in which the team from Flick actually, well, lost. It seems like they were an unstoppable machine, and we were asking how many goals are they going to score now every single game? And no, well, Real Sociedad came here with Emmanuel Alguacil and put a stop to the situation. They put a halt of this game, and now Barcelona are, well, let's take a look. In La Liga, they are sitting now with 33 points, and Real Madrid are behind from 6 points, but with one game in hand. Real Madrid, of course, has a game against Valencia postponed, so if they come back, let's say, soonish, and they win the next game, they're only going to be in 3 points distance. So that's, of course, a very big thing, a very big discussion point. Also, if we take into account that Atletico Madrid won also this game, Barcelona is not being able to hold the gap that initially we all expected them to do so. They look like such an unbeatable team, such a massive force of nature. And when we take a look at it on paper, there isn't that much difference actually from the other teams in La Liga. So is Flick teams going to be able to recover? I think that's going to be the main question. Are they going to be able to, get together, analyze what went wrong, and pull a good performance for the very next game, which is going to be away at Celta de Vigo? Let's find out. I want to take a look, guys, at the starting 11s of this game, because I think there's plenty of analysis we can do from here. So right now on screen, you're going to be able to see that Real Sociedad line up with Alex Remiro, John Aramburu, the Venezuelan player, Igor Zubeldia, Agert, the left back. We're going to talk about Agert later on. Ayen Munoz, who I actually think had a very good game. SofaScore did not put him a good rating here, but I think he had a good game. Martin Zubimendi also was incredible in La Sala de Máquinas, in the engine room. He was recovering the ball. He was literally the whole midfield for them. Lucas Sukic, Bryce Mendes as the two other midfielders. Takefusa Kubo, man of the match for me. Geraldo Becker on the left. And then as the center forward, we had Mikel Oyarzabal, which Barcelona then lined up and faced Real Sociedad with Iñaki Peña, who also saved his face in this game. I think he had a good performance next to Pau Garcia and Diego Martinez. I think that trio, defensive trio, were the core for this team to not concede more goals in this game. Jules Koundé on the right back position, Alejandro Valde on the left, Marc Asodó and Frenkie de Jong there, the two double pivots, Fermín López on the right, Pedri, Rafinha on the left, and then Robert Lewandowski as a striker position. There's plenty of things we can actually discuss from this, but since I already mentioned Lamine Yamal, I want to start from there. I think that Lamine Yamal missing in this game certainly had a huge impact, but I would definitely not put it all to blame on just this player, you know? When I take a look at Lamine Yamal, I look at a player that Barcelona and for the squad is the most decisive player, you know? That one-on-one on dribbling, the ability to score from outside with his left foot, you know, the curler into the top left corner. Those abilities and that, just that flair that he has as a player is very unique, and that can help you win games. I go back to, for instance, when Barcelona had Dembélé, a player like that, it's always very difficult to come by. And now Lamine Yamal is here. He's that player. I think he's better than Dembélé in that instances. He's more consistent, certainly, at doing magic and showing up for the big occasions. And Lamine Yamal, of course, it's not the whole fault as to why we didn't win this game, but maybe, who knows, a moment of magic could have been created if Lamine Yamal played. He seems to have an overload in one of his muscles, in the tobillo, in the ankle, in the right ankle, and that, of course, is going to be a little bit of a problem, and I don't think that he's going to be traveling with Spain in international break. That's good, and it may also be a sort of a curse in disguise, you could say, a negative in disguise. I don't know what's the saying at the moment, but just to have him rest a little bit more could be helpful for Barcelona in the long run, particularly as we're entering a very heavy fixture side of the year, you know, with all the holidays and more important competitions coming by. So Lamine Yamal being rested, or, well, more taken care of, I think it's okay. We have to see how the injury develops. I think it was more of a cautionary tale rather than one where he's already injured. So let's see how that improves and how that goes. But I think that overall, we cannot put and blame just Barcelona for not having Lamine Yamal. It's not simply as that, but certainly it's a very huge, important reason as to why maybe this team didn't win it, but they should perform better. Let's be honest. Now in the replacements, we have to face Fermín López. What happened with Fermín? Fermín didn't have a good game. He didn't enter also the previous game, I think, very well either. Once I went against Red Star, I think. So Fermin Lopez, I think that he finds himself in a position where he's out there on the wings, where he really doesn't know what to do. He has played before there as a left false winger, you could say, you know, as a half winger. But right now, as a half winger on the right, I do not know what was really the idea of Flick here. We analyze it a little bit on the podcast. We have a podcast where we talk Barcelona, Mezcum podcast with Pablo Wolves Blanco and Mustache Jon, my friends, the two together. There's going to be links in the description if you want to hear to our podcast. It's full on Barcelona and more analysis if you want to. And I said there that for me, it would have made much more sense to have Rafinha on the right-hand side of the wing, you know, to just cross with his left foot and find Fermin running into space, which is something that Fermin does very, very well. So I'm just interested to understand sort of why did Hansi Flick went with this idea of having Fermin on the right? He wanted those natural, you know, right-footed player and left-footed player to then cross inside into Lewandowski. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think Flick intended with this, and what player actually would you have put in the starting 11 to replace Lamine Yamal? Because I think that we had many different options. We could have played with Dani Olmo, maybe as a half winger. He's far better at Fermin Lopez than doing that job. He has played there with RB Leipzig plenty of times. Maybe he was also keeping him, you know, safe and wrapped in bubble wrap. You could say also that someone like Ansu Fati could have played on the left and then move Rafinha onto the right. But I just think that if Lamine Yamal is not there, Rafinha on the right with this left foot to cut inside, and then Fermin Lopez at the other hand side to be at the end of the crosses, would have made much more sense. And now guys, if you're enjoying so far this video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel. We are trying to reach 30k subscribers by the end of the year. It's a high tally, but I think we can actually make it if we all join forces. If you learn anything new, also let me know, and if you think anything that we can improve, I would like to hear that as well. I generally like making just content for you guys, and the more the merrier. I always try to answer the comments. This week was a little bit difficult for me, but I'm gonna be here this week answering the comments, and I genuinely read them all. So guys, do not worry, I always will be there to hear you out. If you just want to critique me or just want to say something positive, I'll be there. I always show face. But now, before we continue with Barcelona, before I get too mixed up into the team, because there's a lot to analyze because of what went wrong, I want to talk quickly about Real Sociedad, because I think they had a tremendous game. We're talking about Imanol Alguacil, which is one of the best coaches I think in La Liga. Real Sociedad right now are not doing so good. If I take a look at the La Liga table, we find them that after winning this game, they are 8th, which honestly they should be higher. I mean, we have teams like Osasuna and Villarreal above Real Sociedad, and I think Real Sociedad have a better squad than someone like Osasuna, definitely. So it's certainly a little bit of a worry, I guess, if you're a fan from La Real. But generally, I think they had a tremendous game today. I think Real Sociedad put in a great performance, and because of two reasons. The first one, I believe that they always are working better to win the second ball. They played a very similar style to what Hansi Flick does. And I think it's the first time a team has played against us, you know, also being attacking and having the same strong intensity football, the back and forth. They wanted that, you know, they wanted the fight. They wanted to fight for those second balls. They felt stronger. They felt healthier. They felt more fit. I don't know. When you are watching the game, every single ball, Real Sociedad would have won it. It seems like they outworked Barcelona. And I guess you could say that it's an easy analysis to make, but sometimes the people forget that the opposition also plays. I think that here Hansi Flick found himself a worthy adversary, and GG, you know, the adversary won. So they really have to take a look inside, and maybe Flick has to look at how he can improve this, because before in the German Bundesliga, for instance, against teams which I think generally the average of teams in the Bundesliga are far lesser than in La Liga, the strategy for Flick was, I'm just going to outscore them. I'm just going to outscore them, because generally those games between Bayern Munich and, let's say, a mid-table team from Bundesliga, let's say, I know Freiburg is not a mid-table team anymore, but they were when Flick was there. Let's say against Freiburg, a game like that would finish 5-2, you know, for Bayern Munich. A game where they, of course, are going to concede chances, but they're going to score a lot more. In this situation, that didn't happen because of, well, the first reason, I think Real Sociedad are a better team. I think that in the mid-table of La Liga, the quality of coaching is better. I think definitely the quality of the players as well. So I think that's something that has a huge impact. So let's see if Flick can actually do that. I think also, secondly, this Barcelona team is not as well drilled as that Bayern Munich team. I think they had a bit more time and they peaked later on in the year. Thirdly, I think that today Barcelona were off when it came to finishing. They were not on point. They were not lucky with the finishes. They were not able to create the passes in the final third, were not precise, they were not accurate. Dani Olmo missed a lot of chances that you easily would have anticipated them to just simply cross or find somebody else in the box. There were a lot of troubles when it comes to that finishing, with the luck that is involved. And I think that's a very big part of it. So just this team was not on it. And that also, if you are not precise, if you're not accurate with your finishing, Barcelona didn't have a single shot on target, I think, in this game. Let me actually check that stats for you guys. A total of 11 shots, but big chances created 0. Like, I mean, you can see it on screen right now, right? 0 big chances, 11 total shots, and 5 saved from Iñaki Peña. So it tells you that, honestly, Real Sociedad were more in it. If you watch this game, you could easily tell that this is a game to finish, like 3-2 for Real Sociedad, not a 1-0. I think both of the teams were playing the same way, but at the end of the day, Real Sociedad managed to, score that chance. But now, also, before we move into more analysis of Barcelona, the one chance they did Barcelona get was the one from the referee, was the one that it was wrongly ruled offside. I think that's a given. Let's take a look at some shots that I found here on Twitter. You will be able to see here that, like, when you look at this analysis, this image, like, they got it wrong. It's the foot of Nayef Aguerd who's further forward. Just look at this image. It's such a bad take, I think. And even from the play, you can easily see it. There's no way you see the ankle out of the back of the foot of Lewandowski, and there's no way that his foot is longer or bigger. He doesn't have a foot like this, Lewandowski. He doesn't have something as long as that. So it makes no sense. I think this is a good example here as well. Look at it. It's wrong. It's really, really wrong. And I think that's something that La Liga has to look out with, because this is a semi-automatic VAR, right? I think that generally what I saw is that when you saw the game, you could clearly see that Lewandowski was on side. And then when they ruled it offside, they didn't have this image right away. It took them like 1, 2, 3, 4 replays actually to show this image of the line being drawn. And I think that something there went wrong. They had to alter the photo, the image, or they had to just concede that the player was they got it wrong. They had to concede that they got it wrong and just simply realize that the player that they were looking at is Aguerd and not Lewandowski. So that's a huge problem. Like, of course, I'm not gonna come down and say that, oh yes, all this game went down to this. We lost because of this decision. No, Barcelona did not lose because of the decision. Barcelona were robbed, yes, but that doesn't mean that Barcelona needed to win the game because of this. No, Barcelona here, I think, if you get this chance though, you could win. That's the one thing that I get a lot of people I'm frustrated about. I'm also really frustrated because in situations like this, you get the early game, you get back into it, you move further forward, the spaces start opening up. Real Sociedad wants to get back into the game and equalize. It changes completely. It can really, really change the game. But overall, I would not just call it as the only reason why Barcelona lost. I do think that Barcelona here had a big problem overall when it came to finishing the chances. I do mean that. They were off the mark. They were not on the rhythm. But yes, this would have helped. It would have helped quite a lot, because games like this are the ones where champions are made. A game where you're not deserving of winning and you actually win. It reminds me of last season in this stadium against Real Sociedad, where it was Araujo with the header that won us the game. Like, that wouldn't equalize, I think. That I honestly, that game would have not mattered. But that point, of those 3 points, can somebody tell me in the comments what was the result of that game? That changed everything. So this could have changed something as well. It's unfortunate, but Barcelona, it was just not their day. I mean, they got it very wrong here, and they really do need a look at this. But do not just use this as an excuse to say that Barcelona should have won the game easily. It could have changed everything, but Barcelona were not playing well. And in this occasion as well, a good thing, a good point that I can bring forward is that the guy that actually contributed to this, the shot that he had, is Frenkie de Jong. And Frenkie de Jong is one of those players that at the moment, I do not have an idea precisely of what is going to happen to him. I think that Frenkie de Jong is a little bit off the team. I think that mentally, I think that physically, he's just not at it. You can see that maybe his ankle, he's not fully recovered. It just looks like a player who's not, playing at 100%. It looks like he's had a little bit of damage, or he feels hurt. He's not giving 100%. He's not going for every duel. He's just trying to stop it a little bit back before everything happens. So I think there's an issue right there. I think there's an issue with Frenkie de Jong. Mentally, like I said, I don't know if he's in it as well. I think that he's realized that, he needs to try and make his position his own. Flick is giving him the opportunity to start against Red Star. He had the opportunity now to start against Real Sociedad, and well, he got that knock, got substituted at halftime. So we have to see how this evolves, right? But for me, Frenkie, this is the first time in a while, and this is because of the rise of Casado that came out of the blue, that I think that Frenkie de Jong's position in this team is no longer guaranteed or not even needed in the squad. So I'm a little bit worried about the developments with Frenkie de Jong, so I want to keep an eye on him very, very closely. He did not have a good game today, neither against Red Star. I mean, he just looks 50-50, you know, 50% of the minutes that he plays, he looks good. The other 50, he looks bad. So I think that's what the analysis I can make of De Jong. Another player very similar to that for me is Ansu Fati. I think Ansu Fati today as well, I do not know what's going to happen with him overall. He had a small sample size that we can analyze. 21 minutes he played, which is still a little bit more. That's on the left-hand side. You will be able to see Ansu Fati's stats. Forget about Olmo here. And you have the touches, 14 accurate passes. I mean, he looks safe, I think the thing with Ansu Fati is that for Ansu, we are missing the spark. We're missing the spark that's once he had, and that spark to win you the games that, for instance, Lamine Yamal used to have or has right now, and Fati used to have that, and we're no longer seeing that. We're seeing someone who's very safe in the way that he plays. He makes the cross. He doesn't try to invent as much or bring plays out of the blue. The flair that characterized Ansu Fati and really distinguished him from other players of his age and age gap is no longer there, and that's where I'm a little bit worried about if he now has still the skill set to be cut a top player. Do you think, guys, that Ansu Fati can get back to his best? Because I think Ansu Fati looks different. He's no longer the player that he once used to be. For me, like I said, the flair is gone. Do you still think that Ansu Fati can get that back? I want to know. I want to know what you have to say. What's your say on that? So overall, guys, you have to be disappointed, I think, in this result because a better team beat you. That's okay, but you shouldn't dwell on it too much. I really do not think it's over an exaggeration to say that Barcelona can still turn this around 100%. It's just 1 loss and 1-0 as well in a very tough ground and a very difficult opposition. I think that the problems would come actually later on if Barcelona don't turn this around. I think it's perfect the international break is right now because it gives Flick plenty of time to analyze what went wrong and how to get the best out of the team. I think that some of these players will also get a bit of a beating from Flick because they did not show up today. I mean, Flick is someone who, just for for instance, when somebody went late on training, Xavi would give them a financial, warning. They would have to pay a certain fee for being late. Whilst Flick, when you simply arrive late, no fee involved, nothing economically, but the punishment is you simply are not considered for the next game. That's simple as that. We've seen it with Koundé. We've seen it with, I think, Frenkie as well. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it develops. I like that from Flick. Let's see how he turned this around. Now he has an ability to coach the players. This is the man management that you want to see from your coach. So let's see how it goes, right? I'm very eager to see how Flick is able to turn this around because it's better now that losses like this happen and not later down the season. So let's see how Flick does it. And yeah, let's hope that nothing really bad happens with Lamine Yamal, and let's see how Barcelona get back to their very, very best. So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Remember to check the podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and join us in the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Ciao, ciao.